Hey everyone, welcome to our holiday Mediterranean appetizer class. Today we're going to make 4 or 5 appetizers depending on how much time we have. I'm just sharpening my knife, so I have some nice sharp knives for cutting onions and garlic and the other stuff that's always the other ingredients of the Mediterranean. And as many of you know, I am owner of Mediterranean Living, mediterraneanliving.com, and you're now on our YouTube channel, and I welcome anybody who's new to subscribe. And we have lots and lots of videos, cooking videos, and information about nutrition and the Mediterranean diet. And today, I am making appetizers. Now, this is the holiday time, and during the holidays, there's a lot of opportunities not to eat well. And there's a lot of opportunities to eat a lot of really good food, but sometimes it's food that's not necessarily the best food for us, and which is fine. I mean, this is what happens during the holidays. And usually what I tell people is, like on the day of a holiday, just enjoy that day, eat the food, eat whatever you want, and then go back to eating Mediterranean the next day. But with appetizers, the idea is that we introduce, you can still have your regular holiday meal, but we can introduce healthy foods as appetizers. And today we're going to start with a tuna patty from France. And this is something that's really a very tasty, has a lot of has herbs and Parmesan and really has some good flavor. And it's fried in extra virgin olive oil, which we can talk about when we get to that part. But right now I want to get to making the appetizer itself. And so the really great thing about all of the things that we're doing today is I like to use a lot of things that you might already have in your pantry. So we're trying to use as many pantry type foods so that you don't have to go shopping for a lot of special stuff. This recipe starts with canned tuna. And most people have canned tuna in their house. You start by taking 2 7-ounce cans and draining them, and then we're going to put them in a bowl, and we're going to add all the other ingredients. And while we're adding the ingredients, just to make this a very quick recipe, we're going to add the olive oil to the pan. And I like to use a good amount of olive oil for this recipe. It's not deep fried, so it's not covered in olive oil, but you want to have a nice layer of olive oil on the bottom. And it's perfectly okay to fry with olive oil. And that it's a total myth that you can't fry with olive oil. But again, we'll get to that in a second. So we're going to take the tuna, and then we're going to add 1/3 cup of breadcrumbs and 1/3 cup of whole white flour, all-purpose white flour. Now, if you want to do a gluten-free version of this, you can use gluten-free breadcrumbs and gluten-free flour. And I've made it before, and it's still really delicious, just like that. We're also going to add about a tablespoon of either a good, thick yogurt or sour cream, one or the other. And we're going to have links to all these recipes today so that you can share, or you can try all the recipes. Next, we're going to use a couple of shallots. And shallots are just a type of onion. They have a little bit more flavor, a little bit more sweetness to it. And so if you can get shallots, I would recommend shallots. But if you don't have shallots, and for that matter, if you don't have scallions, which we're also going to use, you could just use onion and just chop it up really well, because we're not going to process it any more than what is already here. So you want to make sure that whatever you put in, because it's going to be fried, that you don't want huge pieces of shallot. Use this knife. So in the Mediterranean, appetizers are either called tapas, like in Spain, or mezze. In mezze, they call it mezze in Greece and parts of the Middle East. And basically, it's just small plates of food. And with tapas, the word tapas actually means top. And what the story goes that tapas were created, small plates were created because when people were drinking wine or other types, tea or whatever, in a restaurant, they would get like flies and bugs landing on the wine, and so they wanted to figure out how to cover it. And so they covered it with plates of food. And I know what you're thinking, and I think this too. Now the flies are going to land on the food, but that's supposedly what the story of how it was created. Maybe they figured out a way to cover up the food too. So now we're going to add some scallions to this, and then we're going to chop up some parsley. One thing I do recommend when you're making, if you want to make really delicious appetizers, is to try to use fresh herbs if you can, because it really does make a difference with the flavor. And then we're going to add 1 egg to hold it all together. And some Parmesan cheese. We're going to be doing a lot of grating. In the Mediterranean, they grate vegetables. We're going to grate vegetables today, and also there's a lot of shredding of cheese. Even onions, a lot of times in like with fritters and things, they will grate a onion, which is something we do very rarely here in America, but it does change the consistency of what you're making. So we're going to add the Parmesan cheese, and we'll add salt and pepper afterwards. But we mix all this up. And when you're making any kind of a patty, when you mix it up, you want to make sure that it forms into a patty. And if it doesn't, you might need to add either more egg, or we could add more yogurt to it. But the tuna is going to make should make a nice patty. And as you probably know, tuna is one of those fish, like in the Mediterranean diet, they tend to eat more omega-3s than we do, and it's been shown that eating a lot of omega-3 fats are really good for your health. And albacore tuna is one of the fish that's really high in omega-3s. The fatty fishes like haddock, herring, halibut, salmon, all of those are high in omega-3s. Also, you can get it in walnuts and almonds and leafy greens, things like that. Okay, I'm going to turn the skillet on, and we're going to see if we can make a patty with it. Sometimes it looks like it's not going to make a good patty, but then it actually does. But I do think I'd like to add a little more yogurt. I'm going to steal yogurt from this and put that in. This is just going to make it a little bit more creamier and less dry. You want it. One of the things you really want with a patty like this is you want it to be really moist if you can, but not so moist that it all falls apart. So that looks good. Okay. So we're gonna make some patties and put it right on the pan.
Colleen was wondering, I hate albacore tuna. What makes the difference?
Well, it's just the type of tuna. Most tuna has a lot of omega-3s. Albacore is just the highest one. Hopefully she likes some. You can also actually, if you don't like tuna at all, you can make this dish, this same exact dish with salmon, with a canned salmon. And that's going to give it a bit of a different flavor, but it will be really delicious with the salmon. So as we go, Winter, who's the man extraordinaire behind the camera, is going to, if you have any questions about the Mediterranean diet, about what I'm doing, just feel free to ask, and then he'll let me know what the question is.
And they might not be able to hear me because the lab is just your voice, so maybe just repeat the question
Okay.
so people know what it is.
I'll repeat the question. Okay, so now we're just going to make some patties with this. This is a really kind of fancy way to make tuna a little more elegant than if you're, obviously just making tuna. And we're going to add one more step to this. You can imagine if you're having a party and you're bringing out food to the people as you cook it, and you have a nice plate of these tuna patties. What you might want with it is a sauce. And so that's what we're going to make next, is a yogurt sauce for the top. Now this could use different types of sauces. It could be like a mustardy type sauce, like mustard with a little bit of honey and garlic. Would be really good. You could use an aioli type, like mayonnaise with garlic. Okay, so we're not going to make all of them right now. We're just going to make this pan. I'm going to wash my hands very quickly. Okay, so to make a good sauce is very easy for this. We're going to basically, I don't know if you've heard of tzatziki, which is a Greek yogurt and cucumber and either dill or mint and olive oil and garlic sauce. For this, you wouldn't really want the cucumber as much, but what we're going to do, we're going to take some of the Greek yogurt, and then we're going to basically add everything else that we would add to a tzatziki sauce, except for the cucumber. And so, and again, you don't have to have fresh dill for this, but it makes it a little more special. You could just use regular dried dill and it's fine.
Questions when you're ready.
Okay, we got 2 questions.
First one is, when frying with olive oil, how do you keep it from spattering everywhere?
That's a good question. So the question is, when you're frying with olive, how do you keep it from spattering everywhere? And the trick, well, there's 2 things. One, to do it on a low heat, which is also better for keeping the oil basically still healthy. And the other thing is making sure that you don't have anything with water in it, or if you are making something with water, that you dry it really well, and then you can add it, because the water is going to make it splatter all over the place. The other thing is, if you have something that's definitely going to splatter, you could use one of these and put it on top, and that keeps it from splattering all over.
Next question is from Cindy. She's wondering, is there any way to do this diet with a dairy allergy?
Yes, so the question is there any way to do this with a dairy allergy, the Mediterranean diet? Absolutely. One of the great things about the Mediterranean diet is that it's very forgiving, meaning that it's not like super strict. It's not like a keto diet or like any of those type of special diets. You can do a dairy-free Mediterranean, you can do a gluten-free, you can do a vegetarian or a vegan. As a matter of fact, in parts of the Mediterranean, they they eat vegan for part of the year because of their religion. And so during that time, they wouldn't eat any dairy. So you want to, I mean, you can easily eat this without having dairy. And there's different ways. You can just take the dairy out of some things, or you can use alternate products. Like, for example, there are vegan and vegetarian non-dairy yogurts. If the problem is lactose, there's also lactose-free yogurts. If you can't have dairy at all, then there's other alternatives. So the sauce we're making for this, again, we have the Greek yogurt. You want to have a nice thick Greek yogurt like that. And then fresh dill. And then we're going to add some garlic. And this isn't something you have to do, but if you don't like raw garlic, but adding just a small amount of raw garlic is really good, especially around this time of year. You know, when people, there's a lot of, you know, colds and flus and things, and raw garlic has a substance in it called allicin, which is really, really good for your immune system. And so it's actually good to have some raw garlic. So we're going to add some of that in there. And then finally, we're just going to add some olive oil and salt and pepper. And then we have ourselves a nice topping for these tuna patties. So we got basically a Greek dip going on a French recipe. And these are done. You can see how quick they are. Just going to get a platter out. You don't have to cook them long. What you want is a nice brown covering like that. And we are going to start, even though we're going to put it on a nice platter, first we'll put it on a paper towel. Like that.
Got a question if you want it.
Yep.
Colleen is wondering, is jarred minced garlic as healthy as fresh minced garlic?
Yeah, so the question is, jarred mint garlic as healthy as as regular garlic? There's not a lot of studies about that. I would say that it may be a little less, but it probably still keeps a lot of the health qualities that are so important. For example, that allicin, because you're getting raw garlic, the allicin, which is so healthy for your immune system, still should be in there. And there's also things that are good for your blood pressure and cholesterol. So I would say, you know, like I said, there's no studies, so it's hard to know. I usually try to use fresh, but I think the minced is probably good as well. Okay. So we have one dish done, and I'm just going to flip these over and put them on. So we have these nice tuna patties. We'll put a little sauce on top of each one. And you can put a little sprig of the dill on top as well, just for a little added pizzazz. And there you have it. There's two recipes, a nice dip and the French tuna patties. Now, the next thing, I just want to show you one thing that I've got going in the oven right now that we're going to make a sauce for. We're going to make patatas bravas, which is a Spanish tapa. And when they make them in Spain, usually they fry the potatoes in a skillet or even deep fry the potatoes. And I find that to do it in the oven, it saves some time. And if you use enough olive oil, it's going to make them crisp even in the oven. And so what I've done is I have some nice potatoes that my wife grew in our garden, and I don't know if you can see this, but there's a lot of olive oil in here. And what I want to do, I'm cooking them about 375, and they're starting to brown a little bit. But what I want to do is to get them really caramelized almost to crispiness. And so I'm going to want to flip them every once in a while to make sure that the olive oil is really covering them, because that's the part that's going to make them nice and crispy. So we can put that back in. When you make these, patatas bravas are a super spicy potato. It doesn't have to be, but usually when you have it, actually when I went to Spain for the first time, I went to this taverna or a bar, and they had, I just pointed to it because I couldn't speak Spanish, and they were, I said, "Are these hot?" And the guy was like, "No, they're not hot." And so I got a beer and I got these patata bravas, and they were like the hottest things I had ever eaten. So he was just joking with me because he knew that he could make fun of me. So actually, I'll start the patata brava sauce. Now, the sauce is what makes patata bravas spicy. Even though you can add some spices to the potatoes. What makes it actually spicy, I'll bring this over here, is smoked paprika, which also isn't that spicy, but then cayenne pepper. And when we make this, we're going to start with, we're going to make this on the stovetop, and we're going to chop some onion and some garlic. And then we're going to cook that in some olive oil. I have a lot of people ask me about olive oil and cooking, and as I was saying, it's okay to fry with olive oil, but a lot of people think that they can use kind of not a great olive oil when they're frying or cooking with olive oil, because they think that it kind of all the good stuff gets destroyed. But as I said, it doesn't. And it's actually one of the best oils to cook in because it retains all of the good stuff in there, the anti-inflammatory qualities and all of the other good stuff that's in olive oil. And so I like to use a good olive oil for cooking too. And it does make a difference in the flavor. So we're just going to chop a small onion. That was half of a large onion, but a small onion and some garlic. And we got the pan on medium-high. We're just going to add that in. Actually, yeah, we're going to add that in first. We're going to let that saute for just a minute or two, and then we'll add in the spices and the other ingredients. The other thing that makes this kind of tangy is we're going to use a little bit of red wine vinegar in there as well. So we'll come back to that recipe in a minute. One of the things about when people are eating during the holidays is I think people tend to eat a lot less vegetables. And so anytime that you can have an appetizer that is vegetables, I think you're doing really great. And you know, a lot of people have put out a salad during the holiday meal. I don't know about you, but for me, I'm like, oh, I could eat a salad anytime, so I don't often eat the salad at the meal. But it's actually really good for you to eat some vegetables first. So if you can, it's good for your blood sugar, keeping everything steady as you go, and also even after when you're eating your dessert, if you eat some vegetables first, it's going to be really good for you. And so what I want to do is to make appetizers that have vegetables in them. And so one of the things, I like to do also is to eat in season. And right now we have beets and carrots that are coming from our farm. And so I'm going to use those to make a quick salad that would go really nicely with these French tuna patties. And so what you do, this is another like super easy recipe. We're going to peel some carrots, and we'll peel a beet. We don't have to be, I wash these really well, so we don't have to worry too much about peeling everything. The beet you do want to try to get, because we're going to be eating it raw, get as much of this skin off as you can. Are any other questions?
There is a conversation happening around the price of olive oil and how it's gotten more expensive.
Yes.
But we have another member who just said, I buy the olive oil suggested in the courses and it's bulk and at good value and it's authentic.
Yes. So the question was about olive oil, or conversations going on about olive oil and how expensive it's getting. And part of the reason, the biggest part of the reason why it's getting so expensive is because it was a bad year for olive oil. The weather really kind of made the olive oil production, like decreased the olive oil production. And so it can get expensive. In some places, the price has doubled, and so it is getting expensive. But if you can buy it in bigger quantities, it is usually less expensive. So we use the Terra Creta brand generally. Winter and I went to visit Terra Creta last year and met with them, and they are just really good with how the olive oil is produced, and they use local farmers, and they really seem to care about the olive oil. So I would recommend that Terra Creta, and maybe Winter can put that in the. He already did. Okay, it's on Amazon, and they come in 3-liter tins. Okay, before I do anything else, I'm just going to add the cayenne and the smoked paprika to the onions and garlic. Just going to let that cook for just a second. And then I'm going to add some of this red wine vinegar. Give it the pizzazz. And then we're going to add, usually we would use a crushed tomato, but I have this fire roasted diced tomato, so I'm going to use that. And if we want to after, we can puree it a little bit to make it so that it's more like crushed. But now we just want to cook this down, and it's going to be a nice, spicy, flavorful patatas bravas sauce. So we'll just let that cook as we're making the next thing. So with olive oil, it is important to try to get the best kind, because usually the best kind is better for you, and a lot of the stuff that's really cheap doesn't have the things that are so good for you in them. So this is a grated beet and carrot salad, and I'm going to make a really awesome dressing for it. Again, with stuff you probably have in your pantry. So we're going to grate this on the big grate. I'll just do one for right now, and then we're going to add the beet, which has been peeled. This is going to be a very colorful salad, and again, something nice that will go with the French patties. So I'll do about half the beet for one big carrot. And then we're going to make an orange juice sauce. And for this, we have some orange juice. It'd be best if you can freshly squeeze the orange juice. But we don't usually have orange juice, but we happen to have some. And now I'm going to add some honey to this. Good amount of honey. And some apple cider vinegar. more, and some olive oil, salt and pepper. You could add garlic to it, although I think this would be better without garlic, since we've already got some garlic going and our other raw garlic going and other things. Our sauce, do that.
Another question, really.
Yep, ready.
Buying in bulk for olive oil when you're cooking for one lets the oil go bad before it is gone, even when using a lot of it. Is there a good way to store it to prevent that?
Yeah, so the question is, if you're cooking for one, buying in bulk, the olive oil can go bad, and how to store it. So the best way to store olive oil is just to keep it in either like a dark bottle like this or in a tin. You don't want it in a clear bottle because then the sun can oxidize it and make it less healthy, and also make it go bad quicker, go rancid. Typically, olive oil doesn't go rancid for a really long time. Usually it'd be like a couple of years if you're storing it well. And so generally I wouldn't worry about it. If you're even cooking for one, if you're eating Mediterranean, you would probably go through a big olive oil, maybe in a year or so. We go through one every, every 3 weeks or so. We go through a lot of olive oil cooking for two of us and our kid. So another a really important thing to do when you're cooking, and I didn't do this with the sauce, with the tzatziki sauce, but you always want to try what you're making to see if it's good. Oh, that is really good. So there's actually nothing I need to do with this, but it's always good to try and make sure. So this carrot and beet is ready. The one thing that I would do to make it even nicer is I would toast up some walnuts, and then we'd have a nice crunchy, very healthy, full of omega-3 fats and nice, all the nutrients that are in carrots and beets, and very tasty and colorful dish. I'm going to put it in a little bit of a smaller dish and put it next to the we got 2 more questions.
First is, can you verify that buying extra virgin olive oil in the late fall is when it is freshest?
It really depends on how long it takes for the olive oil to get here. A really good olive oil is picked and processed in a 24-hour period. That means it's going to have more polyphenols, more of the anti-inflammatory substances that make it so amazing of an oil. But if you, I just want to, this sauce is starting to, like, a lot of the liquid is coming out and starting to get nice and thick. And so that's exactly what we want. We want a nice, thick sauce. And so I'm going to turn this off. Do you remind me of the question again?
That was about olive oil, late fall.
Oh, yes. So oftentimes the best time, because late fall is actually when the olives usually are processed, at least in the Mediterranean, like now we're probably getting close to the end, like November and December. So if it's processed within 24 hours, and it's more about how quick can you get it here. So really you want like late December, early January. Really what you want is to make sure that the company is sending you that year's olive oil. And a lot of times when you get cheaper olive oil, like a sale or something, it's because they're giving you last year's olive oil. But it all depends on, timing. And so I would say the best time is usually like in about a month to buy olive oil. One more question?
Just a good comment for us to know. Kelly, who lives in Canada, says that she can't purchase the terracrita on Amazon to Canada.
Oh, okay. Well, we're trying to talk to Terra Creta more, so we can actually tell them that and see. But if you can't buy that olive oil, there's other olive oils that, especially from Crete, that are particularly good olive oils. Maybe we can actually make a list in the next couple of days and put it on our site. So, the sauce is ready. We have one more appetizer. I wanted to quickly, actually, let me finish this one, the potatoes, because I think those are just about ready. Actually, I'm going to let those go for a few more minutes. The last recipe we're going to do is a tapenade from France. And I'm going to bring all the ingredients over here. But what I wanted to talk about was some of our programs and a huge change we're about to make in all of our programs that we do. And in the past, we have had our Mediterranean weight loss program, Mediterranean whey program, Mediterranean 30, and our membership program. And those vary in price from like $69 to $199. And we were running programs every week, and it was actually taking up a lot of our time. And we were trying to figure out a way to make this all easier. And all of you were asking for the ability to have more programs without paying more money necessarily. And also, people wanted to have programs when they wanted to do it. Like, it might be like a weight loss program, you'd sign up, and it might be weeks later that you could actually do it. So we created, or we are creating, a Mediterranean Living portal, and in it are all the programs, everything we do, including new webinars that we're doing. We have one on village cooking in Crete. We have a tapas one. On Valentine's Day, we're going to do these are all 6-week webinars, how to start the Mediterranean diet. And we're going to be having more live classes. But the cool thing is that once you go into the portal, everything is there. And you can sign up for any program you want. You just have to start it the next Monday. But any program, you could do multiple programs, and we're only charging $99. So this was, if you put everything together, if you did everything with us, it would be $387 for the year. This is $99 for the year. So it's an all-inclusive, come in, you get our Facebook support group, it's giving us an opportunity to create more things for you, and it's giving you an opportunity to do everything that we have. And so we're really excited about it. If you're watching this live, it's probably going to be about a week before it's all ready, so we'll send out an email. If you're interested, you can sign up for our email list. But if you're not watching it live, it's probably already going, and you can just see the link below. So we're like I said, we're really, really excited about it. We've really been wanting to give people like the ability to do everything, and that's what this is. So the last recipe besides the patatas bravas is tapenade. And tapenade, if you've ever had it before, it's another thing that's kind of a little bit on the elegant side, but it's not that hard to make. And it's basically, we're going to use a food processor. We're going to add some olives. You want to make sure that, because we're going to be processing them, that they're pitted olives. And I would actually take the time to squeeze each one, because a lot of pitted olives sometimes have pits in them. And so just make sure there's no pits. We're going to add that, and we're going to add some nice spicy mustard. This is, again, a French version of tapenade. About 3 tablespoons of capers. Capers are similar to olives, but they have a different flavor, so it's going to give it a nice flavor. And then we're going to add a 1/2 cup of extra virgin olive oil. Again, the best one you can, especially when you're using it raw. And then we're going to add some anchovies. Now, I know anchovies have a bad name. I never cooked with anchovies until just the last couple of years, and when I started using them, I had a whole different opinion of them. Grab a fork. When you actually saute them, they just dissolve. And in this case, they're just going to get all pureed. So you can always use less if you don't want a super fishy flavor. I'm going to add about 3 of them to here. This is a great spread if you're going to like have a toasted bread, like a bruschetta. You could put the tapenade on the tomatoes on the bread, or you can just put it on a spread with the bread. You could also use like a nice mozzarella melted and then put the tapenade on top. There's all different types of things you can do with that. So next, for this recipe, we're going to add some chopped, we don't even have to chop it. We're just going to add some parsley. We're going to crush a clove of garlic. And I'm going to use thyme, fresh thyme. And again, you could use dried thyme, but if you have it, use fresh. And I don't want to, because these, the stems of the thyme are kind of chewy, we don't want to have the stems. We just want to, if you pull down from the top like this, all of the thyme will come off. And then you can just pull any extra. So there you go. Put that in.
Quick question from Kelly.
And then some fresh squeezed lemon juice. And that's it that we're going to add. Okay, question.
Can the tapenade be made without anchovies?
Yes, I've made it without anchovies. So you can definitely do it without anchovies. I do like it with anchovies. This is the French version, so they do use a lot of anchovies. And that's really it. Just going to turn that on. We're going to really chop this down. But you don't want it to be completely chopped down. You want it to still have some nice, some little chunkiness to it. It's going to look something like that. And this is so good on bread or crackers. This is a wonderful appetizer. Again, super quick. You know, we've made all of these appetizers in a pretty short period of time. The last thing I'm going to bring out are the potatoes so that I can show you the patatas bravas. The other thing that the anchovies add are more omega-3s. So you have something like tapenade, which is so elegant, is also really, really good for you because you've got the fresh garlic for your immune system, you've got the omega-3s for your heart, you've got olives, which is where olive oil comes from, so you got the anti-inflammatory, and then you have the fresh herbs, which is good for your digestion. And other things as well. So it's, you know, when you can have something that tastes so good and is really good for you, that's like the perfect blend. All right, so we're gonna get out the potatoes. See if I have a small plate. This plate. So it's as simple as taking these nice brown roasted potatoes, crispy because they've been cooking in olive oil, and then covering it with the Brava sauce. You could also serve this with a little bit of yogurt or aioli again, and I can smell it. It's super, super potent with the cayenne pepper. This is cayenne pepper that my wife also grew the peppers, and so it's very, very potent. So those are all the recipes. They're all like super quick. You know, the longest is the patatas bravas, just because you want to roast the potatoes for about 30 to 35 minutes. But everything else, 5 to 10 minutes, and you're done. And even the French patties are super quick. So I hope these are appetizers that you will make and enjoy. And like I said, we'll send you the links, and the links will also be in the bottom of the underneath in the description below. Again, if you want to subscribe, we would love that. We make lots of videos, and we're going to be making a lot more videos in the new year. And I see there's at least one question. Oh, and we got to do a giveaway.
Yeah, let's do the giveaway. So Arthur is wondering, what suggestions do you have for eating Mediterranean for the holidays?
That's a great question. The question is, what suggestions would you have for eating Mediterranean during the holidays? And like I said, like if you're going to somebody's house and they're making, you know, traditional like turkey or ham and potatoes and that kind of thing, you know, that's fine and to eat that way. But to bring all of these appetizers that are more Mediterranean. But if you're making the food yourself, there's lots of things you can do. You know, you can, like just for example, with mashed potatoes, instead of adding tons of butter and cream, you can add more like extra virgin olive oil with some butter, because you still want to have the flavor of butter, but more olive oil and like whole milk, or if you're dairy free, you can do like an oat milk or something like that, and some garlic to give it extra flavor, and even some fresh herbs like dill is really good. So it's like taking the food that you already eat and Mediterraneanizing it. Or you can have some foods, you know, instead of a turkey or a ham, you could have a salmon. And you could still have mashed potatoes, and you could still have cranberry sauce and all of that kind of stuff. But this way, you're making it healthier. Also, with desserts, you know, in the Mediterranean, the main dessert is usually fruit. But there's a lot of fruit-based desserts that you could eat afterwards, like a sorbet, for example, something you could make in the food processor just by adding fresh frozen fruit plus a little bit of juice, and you have this amazing sorbet with you can add some other flavorings to it. And this is giving you something that's going to be much healthier for you than like, you know, pie and ice cream and cake and things like that. Also with pies, you know, you could have a fruit pie, like a blueberry pie. So there's lots of different ways to make it healthier overall. Okay, well, I would just want to thank you all for coming today. Oh, raffle. Ooh, we got a raffle off a cookbook, which
How do you want to do it? Random number?
Yeah, let's do a random number.
All right.
So Winter's going to pick a random number, and this is for one of our Foods of Crete cookbooks. If you already have a Foods of Crete cookbook, just let us know, and we'll send you a different cookbook, Mediterranean cookbook.
Yeah, have them put a number between 1 and 60 in the chat.
1 and 60?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody put a number between 1 and 60 in the chat, and whoever's closest is the winner. And if 2 people get the same number, we'll probably just give out 2 books. If 20 people give the same number, maybe we'll do something, but let's see how it goes. So everybody put the numbers in. Okay, we got numbers coming in. Let me see what else. There was one other dish that I was going to make, but I ran out of time prepping it, and it's one that I would highly recommend checking out on our site, which is it's a Turkish white bean dip with tahini. And tahini is a nice substitute for peanut butter. It's a sesame butter, and I like to add tahini like to sweet potatoes. You can make sweet potato fries with tahini on top. You can use tahini. Tahini is used as a sauce for falafel. You know, there's a lot of different things you can use it for. But check this out. It's Turkish white beans with tahini. And I was hoping to make it, but just ran out of time. How are we doing?
Good. I'm just trying to share the chat wheel here. Thought that would be pretty cool. just gonna spin the wheel.
Okay, he's spinning the wheel. Next time we'll have it. We'll show it live.
Yeah. Sorry.
We are going to be doing a lot more of these, as I said.
All right, the magic number today is 43.
43 is the winning number.
43. Let's see in the chat.
Who's the closest?
No 43s, but there's a 45.
45.
We have two 45s, and they're the closest. So that's Susan Dolan and Christine Wickham.
All right, awesome. Susan Dolan, Christine Wickham. You both won a cookbook. Again, if you already have the Crete book, just let us know. If you can share your email in our chat, then we'll get your information. So, well, thank you, everybody. I hope, again, like you try these appetizers and enjoy them. And I hope you have a happy, healthy holiday. I'll see you next time.